Ryan Little.
A long time ago, Singapore was once known as Sea Town. The city was then ruled by the 5 kings of ancient Singapore. Located at the tip of Malay Peninsula, the natural meeting point of sea routes, the city flourished as a trading post for vessels such as Chinese junks, Arab dawns, Portuguese battleships, and Bukinese schooners. Singapore is an island country and city-state in maritime Southeast Asia. Singapore's location is a route between Europe and Western Asia with the Far East, including the Pacific, making Singapore a crossroads of sea routes and international airlines. A trading gathering place present Singapore, it had the second largest port in Asia.
Feel me.
Singapore is a multi-ethnic society with residents categorized into 4 main racial groups: Chinese, Malay, Indian, and others. For the percentage of ethnic groups in Singapore, a larger part is Chinese 76% and Malay 15.4%, Indian 7%, and the last one is others is 1.6%.
The culture in Singapore. Singapore population is unequally diverse. Singapore has a variety of culture in terms of food and dress, but even though they are different in terms of race and religion, but the culture of life blend with most major festivals involving religion little. This is the main reason why Singapore has a diverse culture. Singapore culture was inspired by multiple Chinese dynasties and another Asian country, which have even shaped to the eccentric and sticky Singaporean culture that we see today. Language of Singapore has 4 official languages: English, Malay, Tamil, and Mandarin Chinese. English is the most commonly spoken and written language, and Singaporean, they also use Singlish to communicate with each other. It is the lingua franca in Singapore, and therefore the de facto language used in public service and administration.
So Singapore has a wide range of the language because there are people from many nationalities living in the Singapore, and they have a lot of language that they use, such as English, Malay, Chinese, and Tamil. Because there are many languages, people choose the language according to the situation and choose the language that suits the person who is speaking with. We had the opportunity to interview Miss Pavi, who worked at the RELC in the Singapore.
Good morning.
What's your name?
My name is Pavitra, but people call me Pavi.
Pavi.
Yeah.
So, where are you from?
So I was born in India, and for the first 12 years I was in India. I came to Singapore at age 13, and yes, and I've lived here since then.
Miss Pavi is from India and moved to Singapore at the age of 13. After that, Miss Pavi has been studying in Singapore since she moved until now.
She is adaptable and speaks 5 languages: Hindi, Tamil, French, English, and Singlish. She chooses to use each language for each situation and person she is communicating with. According to the interview results with her, we can see that she used Hindi with Indian friend in the workplace to getting an important information, but on the other hand, she used Singlish with Singaporean friend at the workplace to getting an important information too. For the friendship, she used French to sharing the moment with them. In her family, she used Tamil to communicate in her daily life. Also, she's an English teacher too. So when she teaching, she will use Singlish with the students to make the students understand easily about English language. And for the tutor part, she used only English to teaching and communicate with her students.
And about the sign, in Singapore, there are a variety of languages that they use in a sign, and the reason that they use a variety of languages in a sign because first, the Singapore government recognizes for official language the major language that they use, which is English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. Second, Singapore has multi-ethnicity, so they need to make a sign use a variety of languages to make everyone to understand it. Because some of their citizens, they may not understand the languages that they don't use. That's why they have a variety of languages in a sign.
Okay, so for multilingual signage in Singapore, as we explore around Singapore, especially in Little India, we see that there are so many languages on the side, such as English languages, Chinese, Mandarin, and Cantonese language, and Indian language and Malay language. The reasons why there are so many languages on the site because most of Singaporean people are immigrated from many countries such as China, Malaysia, India, and England, and they settle their life in Singapore. It is also an advantage for them that they can communicate with these four languages influence. But in general, the street signs are almost entirely English to make the foreigners to understand more easily. And for some areas, they will use their own languages, like Little India, they use Indian language and English language. In Chinatown, they use Chinese, Mandarin, or the Cantonese language. In Malay community, they will use only Malay languages exist on their site.
Okay, for conclusion, Singapore citizens nowadays consist of various ethnic groups, most of which are Chinese, Malay, Indian, Eurasians, and Peranakan communities. As through they live, work, and do activity together, they are ethnic communities that preserve traditional culture for you to visit and learn. Example like mini community for Indian people in Singapore. Indian who settle in the area, they settle down in the neighborhood called Little India. And for the Malay people who settled before Singapore was colonized, these people have their own native language, which are still spoken in nowadays. In fact, this language have been merged into what we call Singlish or Singaporean English. Is it another main language that Singaporeans use when talking to their friend, family, and even college? Until for now, all of this call result in multilingual society.
Singapore is a multicultural country because it is a country with many nationalities living on this island, in which the majority of residents are people from Malaysia, China, and India. So this makes the country a multilingual country because these three groups are considered the main population. We had the experience of interviewing Indians in Singapore. It made us realize that Indians in Singapore do not speak English very well. Although they rarely speak English, they have created a beautiful culture and show their identity quite well. Traveling in Singapore has shown us that even though there are many nationalities, they can allocate the language well in each area.